Peace to everybody out there. The Big House Breakdown College Sports Show is brought to you courtesy of Soundtrack Your Brand. Soundtrack Your Brand and its contractual relationship with ASCAP and BMI allows us to play all music from their vast catalog, all rights reserved. This broadcast does not deserve strikes from copyright algorithms because we have permissions. We really do. Email me and we will go through the paces on just how we do that. And on the other side, fair use. 17 USC 106 videos used for educational purposes only. So now we have a teaser. What is that teaser? Cry tell, may you ask? It's a teaser for the brand new show. And the teaser goes a little something like this. The game. Will we have a roaring Tasmanian devil, hard hitting, nasty, crunching, no holds barred, strangle you to death, knock you out in Michigan? Will we have that flying high, nasty, clamping, stalking their prey, playing with their food, pterodactyl style attack from Ohio State? Or will we have baby Taz and a paper origami? A paper flying origami birdie. Baby Taz versus an origami birdie. Stay tuned for the intro. Let's go. Hey, that was super live. Let's play it again. Yeah, man, you have joined the newest, hottest show in the land. I am your host. I am the Vic 7, and you are now tuning into the Big House Breakdown. That's right, it's the Big House Breakdown. It is everything you might want to know, need to know, leading up to rivalry weekend. We are everything, all things Michigan football. The Wing Tom, we out here getting it done. I decided to do the show as a little breakup in between. Give me 1 second to fashion this mic up. I agreed to do this show as a breakup in between the shows that I do on this station at the behest of someone who put a charge on me. Yo, you said you was going to do that sports show. Yeah, so here we are. Big House Breakdown. College football, unapologetically, your opinion, talk your ish, call in, jump on the stage. The water is fine. We are waiting for you to tune in. Let's begin with the Big House Breakdown. Everything Michigan, everything maize and blue coming at you for this rivalry weekend. You know what I mean? And we need to put that up there. Boom. The game. Everything that you need to know leading up to the game. And why the game? Because it is featured in rivalry weekend. It's 11-0 Michigan Wolverines versus the 11-0 Ohio State Buckeyes for the Big Ten. What I call the Big Ten pre-playoff game, also known as AKA the game. That's right, you heard it. 11-0 Michigan football versus 11-0 Ohio State football. Do you want it, or can you get it any better? You know what I mean? As the old cheer goes, who's got it better than us? Nobody. So you know where I'm leaning. I'm leaning toward the big house. That's right. Maize and blue. But we respect them boys from the other side of the tracks, the other side of the of the of the atmosphere. You know what I mean? It's the Hatfields versus the McCoys for all the marbles. Hasn't been this way since the early 2000s, and we got you covered. We got you covered like a blanket. You know what I mean? Can't thank it. You know what I mean? We got you, man. Right here on the Big House Breakdown. This is the first attempt at the Real HD Show Broadcast Network at putting together a show strictly for you sports fans at the behest of someone that got at me about where's that sports show at, my G. You said you're gonna do that sports show. You said you're gonna be on that sports show, do the sports show. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna kind of mix it up and have a little bit of fun, have a little bit of levity, talk a little bit of sports that we all know and love. So if you guys love sports and you guys love what's going on here, man, give us. I'm gonna put up the link right here for the show. You guys can tune in. Okay. You guys can tune in on the link for the show. You could jump in, and then you too can go backstage, tune in, and say what you think about rivalry week and the game. You know what I mean? Michigan versus Ohio State. That is the featured game of rivalry weekend. Because of how much it means. All the Marbolitos are on the line. Everything's popping. Everything matters right now. Never been a better time. Never been a better place. Never been a better opportunity to flex that out. So there is the show link to get on the live stage if you want to talk your ish about Michigan and Ohio State. StreamYard.com U2684QXV9A. Okay, so use those letters. I'll get you backstage. You come on up. We take them all, man. Blind, dumb, crippled, crazy, shady. You can all join, man. You can say your opinion. Keep it to the show. Keep it to rivalry week. Keep it about the game. But you can talk your ish. If you're going to split those expletives, if you're going to spit them, just keep it to 3 syllables if possible. You know what I mean? Them FKs. You know what I mean? Them MFKs, those BIs. You know what I mean? That ish. Keep it to 3 syllables. And then you can spit how you like. We want all the smoke here on the Big House Breakdown. Because that's what we all about, man. Very new show. We'll come on whenever there is pivotal sports moments. We'll come on to celebrate everything that is college football, college basketball. Not sure if I was going to do college baseball yet, but that might be in the queue. But right now, we are talking about the game heading off rivalry week, as it's called, highlighting it, making it the most thrilling, contested game of the weekend. You know what I mean? Hope everybody's going to be safe. Hope everybody's going to find themselves with family, love, and friends. And let's get into it. So recently on Tuesday or yesterday, the college football playoff committee, put these out. And these are the new standings for college football playoffs. So we got Georgia at number 1. You got Ohio State at number 2. You got Michigan at number 3. And you got TCU at number 4. Do we like this? All these teams over last weekend had games that were way too close to call. Georgia's game was a hairpin. Ohio State's game was a dog walk. They basically took it to the wire, and Maryland was about to dog walk them if they got another quarter in the game. Michigan down to the wire. Field goal saves the day. And I believe TSU was the cardiac kids with a field goal to save their chances. So what do you do with a body of work for all four of these teams that has been so exemplary over the course of the season? And then they have these games toward the end of the season. It's all attrition. It's all the war of the journey. Getting to the games that matter, rivalry weekend, conference championships, and playoffs. So the next 3 or 4 games, all 4 of these teams with their exemplary bodies of work know that the 4 games after the last ones that they just played were the ones that mean the most. Not saying that these guys took a vacation off, but I think they had a lot of walking dead on all sides of all teams. A lot of walking dead. And then the walking dead is going to have to lick their wounds, come on back with a ferocious vengeance, and help their teams move on. But what are we talking about? We are talking about Michigan and Ohio State, the game for all the marbles, the pre-college football playoff game that they play every year in the end of November. And it just so happens that in the last, I'll say, 6 years, this game has meant a lot to both programs. And then in a lot of cases, both programs that participate in this game go on to play in the college football playoff and then get the vaunted opportunity to play in college football championship and then win it. But before we get down to the nitty gritty and the head-to-head matchups, let's get back to that awesome intro one more again. That's right. We are the Big House Breakdown, college football specialist with the eye focus on the University of Michigan Wolverines. All day, every day, all things maize and blue. But if you are true to the game of college football and you want to come in and spit your spit, talk your ish, and let it be known, we are here for you. Hit the link at the bottom. Jump on the stage. We're blasting off in many, many places. We're blasting off in 5 different Facebook channels. We're blasting off on YouTube. We're blasting off on twitch.tv. And we're blasting off on Twitter, Mob Crush D Live, Trovo Nation. What up? What it do? Come through. Help your brother out with a comment or 2. Share, let everybody know. If you're bored tonight and you're waiting for your plate tomorrow, you can get into this right now. You know what I mean? Jump on in. The water fine. We accept them. Blind, cripple, or crazy. Shady. Trolls. If you want to come in, if you a Buckeye fan and you want to just talk your ish, you come on in and talk your ish. If you're a Wolverine fan and you want to come in and talk your ish, we are the unapologetic Big House Breakdown. All things vibing on Michigan football. 11-0 versus 11-0 for the pre-playoff game of the season and what I think is the Big Ten title within the season, the game. Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day going at it with all their playoff swag and all their coaching swag and all their experience. Here we go. So, yeah, man, we're going to take a head-to-head look at it. So, like I said before the break, we have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU on deck. And then if the playoffs went to the expanded, the vaunted, the undoubted 12 Field of 12 playoff system. This is what it would look like. Shout out to Voice of College Football for putting this all together. Fair use, fair use. We are just trying to spread the juice. This is what it would look like. You would have Texas Notre Dame out of the equation. You would have Georgia as the number 1 seed, Ohio State as the number 2 seed. And this is the opinion of the Voice of College Football crew. They put TCU at 3. They put USC at 4. So we got some Michigan haters in the bunch. We got Michigan at 5. We got Clemson at 6. Alabama at 7. LSU at 8. Oregon at 9. Let's see. Oregon at 9. Where's number 10? Number 10 would be Penn State. And number 11 would be Washington. And then 12 would be a sneaker in Tulane. Let us know what you think, man. Do you agree with the college football committee and the way they chose the top 4? Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU. And if the Field of 12 college playoff started today, as it will in very, very soon, not sure if it's 2023 for sure, but if it's going to start within the next year or 2, this is what the field would look like. Jump on in. Let us know if you think about this, what you think about it. Do you like that matchup? Do you like that matchup Alabama versus Penn State? Do you like that matchup Clemson versus Washington? Do you like Ohio State getting a bye right out the gate? Did they do enough to deserve that? Them bums? Did USC do enough to deserve a bye right out the gate? Did TCU do enough to deserve a bye right out the gate? LSU versus Oregon, and then Michigan being disrespected at the number 5 seed of all things. And this is a recent college poll. I think they may be number 3, where TCU slot is at. And then TCU would then play Tulane. That would make for an interesting contest. Or you could put USC up against TCU. Even at that, that would be a nice way to wet your palate for a first round college football jump off. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what you think. This is what a field of 12 would look like. And this is what recent college football standings are. Now, we are going to go head to head. And we are going to show you what it all means and how it all breaks down in the game. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to we're going to break it down by position, tell you who's good, tell you who's not good. We're going to give you an overall dose at the end and an overall prediction after I give you my take. And then we're going to take some questions and some comments from you. I have an interesting. I'll save that for later. Yeah, I have an interesting little graph to show you about the game. Now, both of these squads, man, they hate each other. This is an intense rivalry. It's rivalry week. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. It's rivalry week, ladies and gentlemen. We got to show you what the rivals are and how they stuck so you can be well informed as to who the rivals are, how to embrace them, and who to look out for as you watch football over the course of the next 5 days. They'll be playing since Thursday. No, not Thursday. They'll be playing this weekend. And you will hear all the prognosticators over the next 5 days go through the paces on rivalry week. So the highlighted game or the featured game of college rivalry week is Michigan at Ohio State. They're going to the shoe. It's going to be down and dirty, mudslinging, rock fight at the shoe. Then you got Notre Dame USC, you know what I mean? Renewing an old rivalry that goes back to some classic college football games that mean a lot to a lot of people in South Bend and in Southern California. A lot of pride in that one. Also, this particular matchup, Notre Dame versus USC, will show a lot about, it will shape up, since Notre Dame is a credible win based on how their season turned out. USC, it'll show a lot about what USC is made of over the course of the season and will determine the playoff trajectory should things get crippled and crazy. South Carolina at Clemson. South Carolina had a great showing out last week against Tennessee, did their thing. Can't imagine riding that same wave. They wouldn't go into Clemson and show their absolute ass to Clemson and take Clemson to the hill. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I think Ole Miss is a little bit too much for Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a thriving program. They're not quite ready, based on the political nature of what's going on in that state right now. A lot of things happening. You know, it's still an oldie but goodie rivalry. And remember, all of these things are based off of at war strategy and stigmata that happens in the field of a war based on region and territory. So you got Oregon, number 9 Oregon versus number 21 Oregon State. So nationally ranked, both teams nationally ranked. And we want to say that out west, those teams matter, but in the large scheme of things, they really don't. The winner of that one will probably move up depending on how USC shakes out, LSU shakes out, and Tennessee and Bama shake out. So now you got Texas A&M and LSU. LSU is a peculiar one. LSU got taken to the hilt twice by some FCS teams, FBS teams, excuse me, and not really cool. 1AA team shouldn't have to, take you to the hill. If you are a full team, full scholarship based program, you should handle your business. Texas A&M has a chin. They showed that this year versus Texas. I like LSU in this one. I think LSU has too much talent for Texas A&M. I think they can throw the ball. I think their ability to throw the ball will show up and show for this one. Georgia Tech. This can be a trap game simply because it's at home. Georgia's number 1 overall in the nation. If they're not careful, just like AA team, Georgia Tech, who hasn't done anything significant in a very long time, can surprise you when you're looking ahead to the next 4 games that you have to play the next quarter of your championship repeat. And then Kansas State, Kansas. This is an old river rivalry. Shout out to Ricky Wyatt out there in Kansas City. Hit me up, Rick, man. Jump on. Let's talk some college football. We got a bunch of other contests for rivalry week. We got Washington State, Florida, South Florida, Nebraska, Iowa, Purdue, India, Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Florida State, North Carolina, NC State, Louisville, Kentucky. That's always a heated one. UCLA, California. That's always a heated one. Auburn, Alabama. Does this have the makings of a trap game? Arkansas, Missouri should be very contested. Tennessee, Vandy. Sleeper. Tennessee should dog walk them. Arizona State and Arizona in the Cup. The Cup Bowl is what they call it out there. Very contested. Those games are always good to watch. It's always good to watch those talented young men playing their tail off. And then Nevada, UNLV for the out west bragging rights. This is what college football is all about right now, ladies and gents. My peoples, this is what college football, this is the heart and soul of it right here. This is why these talented young men strap it up click clack it up, and put on them cleats. Get those, get those crazy annoying tape jobs, and get out there and put it all on the line, for their future, for the team's future, and for the destiny of their teams, um, in rivalry week. And it gets the attention of the NFL. It gets the attention of other programs that are looking for future athletes. Gets no better than college rivalry week. So we're back, and we're talking the game that highlights Michigan and Ohio State, the pre-playoff game, as I like to call it, for all the marbles for the Big Ten pre-playoff game title for bragging rights between the two nasty, mudded out, smutted out type of games. And we're going to go head to head with it, man. We're going to start with our analysis. The first analysis we're going to do, our head to head matchup, is quarterbacks. That's right, the quarterbacks of each team. We're going to jump right into that, because I think it's important. These are going to be the signal callers. These are going to be the ones that are going to be carrying the day. That's right, carrying the day. So we'll start off with that team from downstate. We got O State by C.J. Stroud, the signal caller, the flamethrower. He's up for the Heisman. He's doing it all. And then we got J.J. McCarthy, the 5-star thoroughbred, leading the Michigan Wolverines to an 11-0 record. 11-0 record for Ohio State. 11-0 record for Michigan Wolverines. Hasn't been that way since the early 2000s, and we are locked in for this one. So CJ Stroud, we have some categories for QB to judge them and to analyze it. We got run, pass, scheme, talent, intangibles, and overall better quarterbacking. Okay, so first we're gonna start out with run, and we'll talk about CJ Stroud. And CJ Stroud, each one of these categories, right? Before we get too deep, each one of these categories is going to be judged on can that quarterback perform the duty, and how well have they done it throughout the season? Can they perform in that category? Are they elite? And how are those outcomes being maximized throughout this particular college football season? So we got CJ Stroud, and I gave him a B-. Yeah, B-. The reason why I did it was because the only time period during this season that I actually seen CJ Stroud use his legs, which I believe he's about a solid, B runner. He might be about a 4.6 speed, maybe high 4.6, maybe low 4.7. I don't particularly think he's very fast. His technique at the quarterback position is awesome, but I don't think he's that sort of runner. I think they pulled those 2 plays rabbit out of hat because they needed to beat Northwestern. Northwestern came to punch them in the mouth that particular game, and so they did. And he was the very last one that they thought, or Northwestern, that is, thought that he was gonna get the ball, and he ran it in for scores, and kind of ran away with it for the team. Now, J.J. McCarthy, everybody knows, based on the last year at the Big Ten Championship, the show J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum put on, running the football. Donovan Edwards as well. We'll get into them a little bit later. Bona fide 4.5 speed. Very, very rare for a quarterback. White quarterback at that. PC quarterback to have that ability, but my man can move. Several games throughout the year, J.J. McCarthy has damn near won it, or been very impressive getting out of the pocket, using running lanes, running option, running the RPO, getting his team some advantages via his legs. Now we got the pass, you know what I mean? CJ Stroud is excellent. That's why I put up the pterodactyls, because those Ohio State dudes, they want that air raid, and he specializes in just that. Very confident young man, doesn't want to let anybody down, and when he does, he's very hard on himself. He kind of sinks in some ways, and I think he could be rattled. But then we'll get into that when we talk about defense. But offensively, throwing that rock, flame throwing as it is in red, I give him an A. JJ McCarthy, 5-star arm, 5-star ability, can throw every pass in the book. But this year has not shown a propensity to that. He's had a couple 300-yard games, couple 200-yard games, but it's been very pedestrian. And based on that, you see his progress is not what it should be. And we will explain that in the very next category, scheme. Scheme. CJ Stroud is very good in his scheme, very comfortable in his scheme, very professional like within the scheme. The way he runs that offense reminds me of the old Warren Moon Houston Oilers. That ball just comes out his hand, off his fingertips, and he's playing connect the dots, tic-tac-toe, rainbows and lollipops all over the field to all those vaunted Ohio State receivers. Now, Michigan has a very talented receiver group. They have a good passing scheme, and they have a 5-star quarterback with a 5-star arm. It has not gelled the entire season. Now, I don't know if that's a matter of they're trying to matriculate J.J. McCarthy slowly into what Michigan's passing game is all about so that he doesn't have turnovers, because one of the bread and butter stalwart portions of John Harbaugh teams is a non-turnover type of team. So I will give the Michigan Wolverines, and of course his receivers haven't helped him out at all, dropping a lot of balls, not getting a lot of separation. And we will see if that will ring true this weekend. And a lot of people have criticized why within the scheme we're not using play action more to scheme the receivers open and get them downfield on some deeper balls so that we can score more and be more effective. I think the dude is dope. I think he's got a super bright future. I think he's working out the kinks because he didn't have a chance to have an off season and get in rhythm. If anybody knows about spring practice, the lion's share of the reps go to the starters. JJ McCarthy was healing. I think they didn't want to fool with that. I think they did the right thing. But now it's just a matter of it cost him some reps and some chemistry in the long run. And now I think it's just a matter of getting and being consistent. JJ McCarthy in scheme was the most consistent quarterback up to week number 4. Fell down a peg or two after that, but maintained a 70% completion percentage. And then in the last 3 games, dropped down to 56, 58% completion percentage. So the scheme, I give a C, because I think they miss their old offensive coordinator as he's down in Miami, struggling himself. I think that was a move that wasn't really that prudent. I think he kind of drew up some playbook things that made them a better passing ball club. Talent. I told you, both of these are 5-star quarterbacks. CJ Stroud played all last year, made all the plays that you needed to make at the quarterback position. He gets an A+. He just doesn't run as much. But his arm talent, scheme, pass, all of that on point. And he does get rattled, though. If you can get him on the ground, he could turn into a Tom Brady of sorts. And then, talent-wise, on J.J. McCarthy's side, he's got the wheels. He's got the flamethrower and the arm. But he hasn't gelled. He hasn't shown that talent to be consistent enough and featured enough within the season. So I'm not going to deny him talent, but I am going to deny him just a smidge for not showing it. He's made some hell of a throws, like on the run, dodging, the rush, rolling out, hitting people on a dime, throwing the back shoulder pass. He's doing it all. He can throw it all. Intangibles. Now, these are where the check marks come from and not the grades. Why do the grades not come in, but the check marks come in? Because I think these two quarterbacks are polar opposite that way. I don't think CJ Stroud has the intangibles in the quarterback position. I don't see him making a play if there is no play within the scheme of the offense. I just don't see it. If he could have done that, I think he would have done it already with his legs, with his arms. He's not the John Elway type or the Brett Favre type that's going to do a shovel pass or a pitch pass or anything creative like that to get you open. On the other hand, though, and I'm not a homer for this, don't hate, bring me the smoke in the comment, though, J.J. McCarthy is that person. J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback that's going to run 30 yards downfield and throw a block for his running back. He did it last year. He did it last game. Pay for it a little bit. Just got to learn how to kind of bend them knees and get that lower body torque popping so he could bring his weight behind him. But he threw himself into the fray. Those intangibles are on deck. Not afraid to throw a shovel pass. Not afraid to throw a check down. Not afraid to throw. Not afraid to pitch it on the goal line. I'm giving the intangibles to JJ. If I need somebody who's going to do some last minute heroic stuff to win the game, I'm giving it to JJ. But the overall quarterback is the overall quarterback winner, the best one at the position that have the greater outcomes, CJ Stroud. Boo! I should have had the boo sound effects going, but we'll get it popping. Yeah, man. So CJ Stroud wins the quarterback matchup head to head. We're gonna move on. We're gonna matriculate along. We're gonna move along. We're gonna stand strong, and we're gonna go to a super important category for the game, which is super strong position for the game, which is running back. That's right, running back. It's November. The weather is brisk. That running game is needed. And I got some categories. But on the Michigan side, we got the Heisman candidate. Some say he's a favorite. 17 touchdowns, 1,300 yards rushed. Blake Corum. And then we got his running mate, talented as hell, fast as hell, can line up and burn safeties or receivers or get in the field and crack one open for 16 when you don't play. Donovan, number 7, Edwards. And then we got, on the Ohio State side, we got Trey Henderson, who did so much last year, got so many accolades, but this year has been a shell of himself because he's been hurt. And then you got Mine Williams, who's that rock, but also suffered a lower body injury and a hand injury. And these two teams will need these fellas here to be front and center, being impact parts of the game, in order to move their teams along and make sure their teams get where they need to get and do what they come to do and reach those goals in this pre-playoff game, Michigan versus Ohio State. So we got speed, technique, scheme, talent, intangibles, and overall. And you already see where I'm leaning. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, speed, and more speed. Trey Henderson has speed. He reminds me of a young Roger Craig, the way he runs with the ball, very high. You notice a lot of those Ohio State running backs that run very high. Why? Because they got those road graders that open up those holes. So they're in full sprint mode, like they're running track. And of course, a lot of running backs run track in high school. So they have that sprinter's form coming through those holes. And then he's gotten banged up for it. And, questionable to be available. Very, very talented, can catch, can run. So speed is not an issue. Mine Williams, serviceable in the speed area. I think he's about a 4.5 guy. And for college football, that works. The speed edge, I'm going to give it to Michigan. Blake Corum, cutting in full speed. He will shake you out your shoes. And Donovan Edwards will burn your safeties, burn your corners, and run over your lines. And shake your defensive ends silly. So we're going to give speed edge to Michigan. I just think they do a little bit more on the ground. If healthy or not healthy, they are the speed edge in today's or this weekend's game. Technique. Um, Technique, I'm gonna give it a kind of a stalemate. They're equal in that regard. Mayan Williams can step up and pop with the best of them in pass pro. So can Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards is more of a pass catcher. So you're going to see him running more routes than you're going to see him. He's more valuable in the pass tree than he is staying back to block. But they both bully the line of scrimmage in pass blocking. Technique at the running back position, I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to the Michigan Wolverines. They just do more in their system ball. They throw more at you in more formations and more ways to get these two speed demons, these two talented dudes open so that they can terrorize college football like the Jabberwocky Wolverines that they are. Scheme. Um, Scheme. Why did I give them both a C for scheme? I should have given Michigan an A for scheme, and I apologize for that. And I wanted to give Ohio State a C for their running back scheme because their running game has taken some lumps this season. They haven't been the way they should. For the talent that they have, for the 5-star linemen that they recruit year in and year out, their running game should be much, much better. And the scheme for Michigan is very interesting, man, whether it's tight with 22 personnel or whether it's spread out. You see Michigan able to roll grade teams within their running scheme and just strangle you like a boa constrictor. They just wrap that running game and the clock around your 2 technique and your 3 technique, and you're done for the day. Your 5 technique is done. Your 9 tech is done. They done. We just squeeze you like a boa, and you too tired. You winded. You too beat up. You know them corn-fed white boys and Oluwatimi leading the charge. They just squeeze you. So I'm going to give the running back scheme for these two Wolverines the A instead of the C. So the edge and scheme goes to the Michigan Wolverines. Talent. They're both talented backfields. They're both 5-star backfields. I think are they playing up to that ability though? That was another thing I told you way in the beginning. Do these teams play up? Do Ohio State's running backs play up to their ability? I would think not. That remains to be seen. Now, whether you want to say it's edgy, whether you want to say it's scheme, whether you want to say they're dominant, with the air raid rather than the ground, that's cool. But their running scheme leaves a lot to be desired. And their talent hasn't matched the outcome that most thought Ohio State, based on what Trey Henderson did the year before. No one saw this coming. Now, talent, these two 5-star cats in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are super, super talented 5-star dudes. Donovan Edwards was I believe he was a 3rd highest player out of his recruiting cycle for all 5-star players, and Michigan snatched them. You know what I'm saying? And then, and what they were able to do throughout the course of the season, awesome. They got major juice in there, doing it their way, the Michigan way, grinding teams up in the meat grinder like Taz, running through it with the wind at their back. We're going to give the Michigans A for talent. Intangibles, we're going to give Ohio State. We really haven't seen too many running back intangibles. I think Mayan Williams gave them an edge that was hurt now. Have they lived up to running back intangibles? We'll see with Dylan. What was his name? Dylan. And what is the backup running back for Ohio State who's going to be in the game? We got CJ Stokes, and I believe we got Dylan Hayden. I believe that's his last name. Backing up because these backfields may be very gimpy. So you may see Dylan Hayden and you may see CJ Stokes in there. So intangibles, we're going to give that to Michigan. The pass receiving out of the Michigan backfield is elite. They might as well be receivers. We saw Blake Corum take a screen pass, 64 yards. We saw against a really, really good Indiana team, we seen Donovan Edwards get busy and have almost 100 yards receiving from the running back position. So overall, I'm going to give the Ohio State backfield a solid B because they are talented and they may roll out of the infirmary ready to go for this game. But I'm going to give them a solid B because of their production over the course of the year. Right? They're solid. I don't know if they're going to bust any games wide open, but they're solid. But if the Michigan players are healthy or even 80%, I will take 80% of the Michigan running backs because what they mean to their ball club, their scheme, and their technique. They are the boa constrictors. They are the fangs of the boa. You know what I mean? If the boa is the offensive line and the receivers, the fangs are the running backs. You know what I mean? They clamp down on the game, they strangle the clock, and it's a wrap. So overall, we're giving the running backs in the game to the Michigan Wolverines side. So we're right about even right now because from the quarterback grouping, it goes to Ohio State, and then the running back goes to Michigan. So now we're gonna take a look at these receivers. Ooh. Yes, let's do that. Let's take a look at these receivers because there are a lot. And where are they? Okay, let's look them up. Okay. Wide receivers. Here we go. Give me a minute, family. Let me pop this on, and we will get this on, and we can debate. Hey, don't forget, man. Throw your comment, man. What do you think, man? Do you think my assessment of the quarterbacks is correct? Do you think C.J. Stroud is the better of the two? I think J.J. McCarthy is immensely talented. I think he could pull the rabbit out of a hat, but I think as of right now, C.J. Stroud is the better. Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, I think are more talented and are better gamers. If game is on, I believe the Michigan backfield is going to get it done before the Ohio State backfield gets it done and influences. Now we'll go to wide receivers. Whoa, here we go. We got Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. All dope receivers. And then we got Cornelius Johnson. You got Roman Wilson at the bottom, number 14. You got the young hopeful with all that talent, Andrew Anthony. And then you got the man that came back from career-ending knee surgery, Ronnie Bell. And we got 5 or 6. Well, let's go with 5 because the overall doesn't really. That's the culmination of it all. So we got speed, technique, scheme, talent, and intangibles. Now, speed. Cornelius Johnson can burn. Roman Wilson, not so much. Donovan Edwards gets his share of passes. He's a burner. Andrew Anthony is a burner. Roman Wilson is a burner. Unfortunately, though, up against Marvin Harrison Jr., Smith-Njigba, Jarrett Wilson, and Emeka Egbuka, I think the edge on speed goes to Ohio State. They are consistently heads and tails faster than most defensive backfields that they face. And I think that's the edge that goes to them because, and I believe that's why they were recruited because all those young men are very, very fast. Dynamic speed, combine type of speed. I believe they all probably in a 4.4 or lower type of range. I'm not sure if they will run that right now because of the attrition of the season, but they're there. Speed demons. So the edge goes to Ohio State, getting an A. B+ for Michigan. They're gamers, though. That's what I love about those Michigan receivers. Speed demon on the Michigan side is Roman Wilson, followed by Cornelius Johnson, CJ, followed by Andrew Anthony that cooked up last year, that cooked up the whole Michigan State team over 150 yards receiving on low number. I believe it was only 6 receptions. He went crazy. And then the man is Ronnie Bell. Speed demon at the running back position, catching the ball in Blake Corum. Technique. Of course, you know that offense is schemed to get these speed demons open. So we're going to give, and they run it well. I do believe that they run some plays better than others, and they have, kind of go to the well type of plays that they run. So I really believe that technique and the routes that they run and the routes that they prefer to run, they run them super crisp. They're super efficient at it. So we're going to give A- in tech to the Ohio State receivers. The Michigan receivers are B for technique. They show up. They play. They ball. They're solid. They just haven't taken that step to dominating any games with their technique. Oftentimes, as we mentioned earlier, McCarthy, JJ struggles because the receivers are not getting separation. Roman Wilson has been hurt. Has kind of been a shell of himself since he got the concussion. And I will give technique to the Ohio State Buckeyes A to a solid B. Now, scheme. There's a lot to be desired for scheme, and I think Michigan is holding back a lot of plays for their more vaunted competition that they play. And I think they do that to their detriment. I think the scheme is really good. I just think these receivers and the quarterback are not on the same page chemistry-wise, and it shows throughout the games. And then I also think that Ohio State's scheme, because their athletes are so, of course, athletically superior, that this is the area and they excel in scheme, giving them an A+. Michigan has A-, not a solid A, an A-. So I wouldn't call them terrible. They've had games where they really did really well in the passing game. Just hasn't shown it consistently throughout the year. A lot of people claim they may or may not need to because of the nature and how dominant the running game for Michigan is. Talent. They were all talented. They were all high-level recruited kids. I think the only person a high-level recruit out of this entire group was Ronnie Bell. But he's shown to be super valuable, not only in perseverance, but in talent. His propensity to play basketball was observed, and that's why he got a full ride, because he's a straight baller and an athlete. If you just watch Illinois' game from last week, you see how he shook them out their shoes. So talent-wise, Michigan is good, but this group of Ohio State receivers are all 5 stars. Abuka, Njegba, Wilson, and Marvin Harrison Jr., all 5-star. They get the A+, Michigan, and they've played to it all year, even though Njegba has not been hurt most of the year. And then, of course, we've had some injury on our side, and our wide receivers have not played up to their potential, so they get a B for talent. So again, these techniques are not these categories for each position grouping is not just because they're good or they're not good. Have they lived up to billing and their potential in those particular areas? Now, intangibles. I think Michigan receivers do a little bit more intangible wise than I think Ohio State's receivers is. Is it a because of the propensity and the domination of the Ohio State receivers that they don't need to have intangible stuff? Their playbook works so well and they dominate so many through the air game that they don't need to have intangibles. Perhaps. I will lean with Michigan because you've seen Michigan run reverses, flea flickers, receiver option passes. Um, they run the jet sweep option with the receivers. And I think you've seen just about every receiver this year touch the ball on a jet sweep option, or a option, jet sweep option pass, or some sort of reverse, double reverse, or anything of that sort. And of course, having a Edwards that could jump into the pass fray and be a wide receiver and be that skilled of receiver to make that much of a difference gives the intangible edge to Michigan. Um, Overall, though, who is the better unit? I'm going to go with the Ohio State Buckeye receivers. That's their bread and butter. That's what they do well. Just like Michigan will ground you and strangle you with that clock and strangle you with that running game, the receivers will blaze you up and down the field, making impossible catches and utilizing that playbook that they run so well. We will see if Michigan's top defense has anything to say about how these receivers get off during the game. So that's it for receivers, man. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you believe him, if you think my assessment is right. Bring the bucking smoke. I need it. Let's go. I need it. I want it. I want to know if you guys are into the Big House Breakdown. And if you like what I'm doing and you fancy it, please jump on board. There is the link right there. U26A4Q XV9A. If that wasn't the link that was on the web page, my apologies. If it wasn't on a Facebook site or any of the other sites that I broadcast from, that's my apologies. But this is the show for the people, talking about the game and the crucial matchups. That is the game within the game. So I think the edge in receiver goes to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Like that's any very obvious that the Ohio State receivers would take that one based on how the season was unfolding. Okay, so what do you think, man? Do you believe in my assessment about quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers? Do you think they're right? So far, we are going to chat about how these teams stack up against one another. Now we will go to the O line. Yeah, we will go to the big bubbas. You know what I mean? Like that dude, like Eddie Murphy, when he was in the cell in jail singing, and them two big dudes ran up on him, and he was like, "Yo, in my pocket, there's a whole thing of Tic Tacs. Takes many like big bubbas, big bubba jokers." Yeah, man. So we got Ohio State, all 5 stars. Yo, that 77 for Ohio State is the business. I'm not sure if he's playing for the right team. That's a huge joker. He might be standing at about 6'7", about a cool 320 pounds, and he's moving people. But they got him in that kick step. They got him in that off the ball kick step. And I hope that pays dividends for him because that is a big old joker. So he stands out for them. Trevor, Keegan, Trent Jones, and Ola with Timmy. Dumb dudes more on the Michigan side of the ball. When they run the rock, man, Taz Voltron, and they form the body, the legs, and it's Tasmanian Devil all over the football field. It's chaos in maize and blue uniforms, led by that offensive line. So let's check out the categories: run, pass, scheme, talent, intangibles, and overall. So run-wise, I gave an A+. They are the premier unit for running the ball in college football as it exists. Over the last 2 seasons, Michigan is 22-0 in the regular season, and they owe it to the big bubbas up front, them big bubbas. You know what I mean? So we give them a A+ for run, and they've lived up to it this season. Now we're going to give Ohio State an A for talent, but a B- for run. Now I don't know if this is some sort of compilation of what the running backs have done and what they've done, but guess what? The outcomes are not showing dividends for the Ohio State run game. They look average. They look like they don't have a run game, or that they don't. They like they're trying to hide a sore spot on that team. Like they're trying to hide physicality, because to be a good run team, you gotta have physicality. And it sounds like they're trying to hide the fact that they don't have a vaunted run game. And based on the light schedule that everybody loves to pick at about these two teams and their light schedule, according to most, Ohio State should be much better for the talent they have. Now, pass Ohio. This is what Ohio State does. This is how they're coached. This is why these dudes were recruited. So we're going to give them an A. And the outcomes throughout the season bear fruit. They bear to it. They bear to the fact that these hog mollies, these big bubbas, can move people and set up a passing game that will protect CJ Stroud and allow him to be a great dominant quarterback and allow that passing attack, that air raid, if you will, to be special, which has that team at number 2 in the nation. Without that, without the skill that these dudes do, the Ohio State big bubbas, I think Ohio State is a shell of a team. But we're not going to take that from them. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we're going to give them an A for pass. Now, Michigan, we're going to give them an A-. Why are we giving them an A-? It's not a solid A. It's not a B+. It's an A-. Why? Because they have the talent. These dudes can pass block. They're the 8th best pass blocking unit according to Football Focus. They're the Pro Football Focus. They're the 8th best pass blocking unit, and that's based on how much J.J. McCarthy has been sacked throughout the year. Not a whole lot. They're the 8th best pass blocking unit, and they allow J.J. McCarthy to roll out and do all that magic that he does outside of the pocket, and that is worth something. Now, just because the passing game for Michigan hasn't super matured doesn't mean that these dudes, with teams up for of the year award, and then the Michigan Wolverines that are up for the offensive line of the year award, once more, aren't the business in pass blocking. Had a couple 300-yard games, had a couple 200-yard games over the last 3 games because of attrition and injury. Not to their own fault, but due to the skill positions, they haven't produced what they need to. So in that regard, we give them an A-. Both units are super duper solid, super duper talented. That passing efficiency is what it is. A and A-. Now, scheme. Michigan relies on heavy tight end personnel, and they work off of that. Ohio State throws out of a 5-man blocking scheme, and they go, they are 2-step, 3-step quick ones. So scheme for passing, interestingly enough, I'll give it to Michigan because they have to do more as a passing scheme and a passing unit when it's time for them to pass than Ohio State. This is their bread and butter. This is what they do every game, every way. Some people will say, well, why wouldn't you give them an A+? I give them a solid A. I give Michigan's scheme with the offensive line an A. Once the talent at the skill position catches up with the domination of the line of scrimmage, now you're going to see fireworks in the scheme coming from the offensive line. It all starts up front, as they say. Talent. 5-star offensive lineman on Michigan. 5-star offensive lineman on Ohio State. And they have played like it. Intangibles. I'm going to go with Michigan State. I'm going to go with Michigan. right? Instead of Ohio State. Gonna go with Michigan because Michigan does a little bit more behind the line of scrimmage, whereas you have to have more coordination, you have to have better coaching, you have to have better specialties in what you do as an offensive line, pulling out the finesse, the cross blocks, the scoop and pulls, the pinning, the zone reads, the counters. They run that counter to death. The powers, they run that power to death. They run option off power. That's a lot of memorizing what you got to do to be efficient as an offensive line. I think Michigan does just a little bit more with their offensive line than Ohio State. They get the intangible mark. And overall, who is the better O-line? If Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are healthy, I think Michigan offensive line transforms into Voltron and they maul the Ohio State offensive line. So overall, they get the score there. So now let's go to Michigan's. So what do you think, man? Am I right? Do you like my assessment of the quarterback position in CJ Stroud? My assessment of the running back position in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards? Do you like my assessment of the wide receiver position with the Ohio State air raid? Do you like my assessment of the O-line with them transforming like Voltron and mauling their way through a college football season and the intangibles and the overall score by the offensive line? We're going to get into the defensive lines now. I'm not going to have too many pictures of them because there are a lot of these jokers, but I do want to feature them, okay? Because I think they're going to make the difference in the ball game. So first, there's many categories to assess: run defense, pass rush, scheme, talent, intangibles, and overall. We have some dynamite defensive linemen on both sides, some real difference makers. I think they're going to be the ones. Here's my prediction. Just like I think the offensive line is going to win the day during the game for the Michigan Wolverines, I think the defensive line that's better will win the day for their particular team. So we'll start out with Ohio State. JTT. We'll go with run defense. I'm gonna give them a B minus. I've been watching these Ohio State boys. I watched them get chewed up by Penn State. I watched them get chewed up by Maryland. I watched them get chewed up by common opponents. And I watch common opponents take them to the hill. So I'm going to give them a B minus for run defense. But I'm going to give Michigan an A for run defense. Mozzie Smith, you know what I mean? That beast. You know what I mean? We got Chris Jenkins and Graham. Them dudes right there. Whoa. Them dudes eat up runs. They eat up blocks and they eat up runs. And they get really, really low and they grab and they corral. They make piles and they corral by the feet. Their 1, 3, and 5 techniques are super solid against the run. So I'm going to give them a solid A. Might be one of the best in the nation. I'm going to give Ohio State's D-line a B minus because Talik Williams is very streaky at the position. Ty Hamilton can be streaky at the position, and they can be moved. They can be moved, and teams have moved them, which is why they get the B minus. Pass rush. Now, this is where both excel. TT is a specialist in this area. I think he's more of a outside linebacker. He's that athletic. Super pass rusher. Took over I believe it was either the Penn State game or the Indiana game, all on his lonesome, and had a touchdown, bunch of sacks, strip fumble. He did it all. And then you got late in the season Jack Sawyer playing the jack position, that hybrid linebacker position for the O State Buckeyes. Those are your two guys that need to show up and need to be present and impactful in order for um, Ohio State to beat Michigan. So they'll be going against our tackles on our O line that is up for the Offensive Line of the Year award. So I don't know if you're going to see them against good offensive lines. You really didn't see JTT go off last week. Jack Sawyer made some plays, but JTT was schemed out. Maryland schemed him right out of that game. Penn State, in certain regards, schemed Jack Sawyer game. It was very interesting. Teron Vincent, Jerron Cage, those dudes need to step up. So we're giving a pass rush an A because of Sawyer and JTT. And we're giving a pass rush for Michigan Wolverines an A. I should have gave them an A plus. By this time last year, they surpassed what Ajabo and Hutchinson did last year in their sack totals already by this point in this year. I think they eclipsed it like that by maybe 4 or 5 sacks because of the Rutgers game and because of the last game that they played. Mozzie Smith, not Mozzie Smith, but Mike Morris, excuse me, big number 90. He reminds me a lot of Michael Strahan talent set. I think he's going to be a pro. I think he's going to be a good pro. I think he might be even all pro because he's got that motor that doesn't quit. He's got athletic speed at the position for a 290 dude. Should be a freaking 2 technique, but he's a freaking stand-up dude because he can move his tail. He got a rocket in his pocket when he comes off that line of scrimmage. And then you got Ayaki, the transfer from Tennessee State. And this cat, man, you talk about a thoroughbred at the outside linebacker / defensive end position. This cat gets after it. And I believe that Mike Minter as a coach loves a dude like this because, and Mike Morris as a tandem, because you can put Mike Morris inside as a 2 tech or a 3 tech. You could put a Yabioki and have him run stunts. And you got the full Baltimore Ravens scheme at your disposal. And I think Michigan, between Moore and Graham, very pass rusher at the 3 spot. And you have Upshaw. And then you have Knight who comes in and does some things. Man, you got a lot of good pass rushing ability. And that's why they were able to surpass what Hutchinson and Ajabo were able to do at this point in the season. So I'm going to give Michigan's pass rush an A. Scheme, I just mentioned it. Mike Minter is going to scheme the stew out of these dudes. Mike Morris and Yabioki and Moore and Upshaw and, Knight and all those, Harrell, all those dudes who can move the football and get after it. I think Michigan's pass rush is not just good because they put the quarterback they sacked the quarterback. I think they're good because they rush the quarterback very well and they disrupt passing schemes. That's going to be very pivotal when we start talking about how well these dudes, the game, this unit is going to do it. Scheme, once again, Mike Minter, I'm giving him an A. I'm not giving the Ohio State scheme an A. I'm giving them a C because I think they stick around too long. I think they let teams hang around too long in games. When they got JTT and Jack Sawyer, they should be putting teams to bed. Pass rush. And I think JTT and Sawyer can be schemed out of pass rush abilities. I think they can. I think you could scheme them. I think you could chip them. I think you can wear them away with misdirection. I think you could wear them down. And if the Michigan offensive line turns into that Voltron boa constrictor of sorts, you will see that happen to JTT and Sawyer. I'm going to give them a C because they let teams stick around, even though they have elite pass rushers. So the outcome doesn't match what they want to do with the scheme. Even though their defensive coach is a good one, and he's very scheme specific, I don't always think that they play up to their level, and their defensive tackles can be had in the run scheme and the passing scheme for the opposite team. Now, talent, these are all 5-star dudes. These are all 5-star dudes that love to get after it. I'm going to give Michigan an A-. I'm going to change that to an A+ right now based on production. I'm going to give JTT and Sawyer, which are their top vaulted pass rushers, a B. Give me that smoke if you disagree. Intangibles, I'm going to give it to Michigan. Not because I'm a homer. I think Michigan is deeper in their defensive line. I've even seen some things written by 24/7 Sports that certain Ohio State linemen are out of shape. And this is the reason why in games, this defensive line disappears. And then if you're in practicing against an air raid, then you can't be physical as you need to be in real time. And then when it shows in the game, when you're winded, and then you only show up with a B and a C for scheme and talent and how that integrates itself into a game. So I'm going to give intangibles to Michigan defensive line because of their depth. And overall, I think you can throw the kitchen sink at Ohio State. Pass rushing wise, I think Mike Minter, the defensive coordinator, will do a little bit more than the veteran defensive coordinator for Ohio State. I think that it will show during a game, especially if we're able to run the ball effectively, that we will strangle this defensive line. They're not going to want that smoke in the fourth quarter. So overall, I think that the overall talent and the overall edge in the game, as far as defensive line, goes to the Michigan Wolverines. And now we're going to go to linebackers. And this is a really interesting thing because Ohio State and Michigan all play the position very interestingly. Michigan has linebackers that are tough as nails, but they're undersized and they like it like that, so that they can use their linebackers like third safeties, and third and nickel backers. And Mike Sanders still, he's as tough as nails. He gets after it. And then of course the linebacking unit that they hybrid with Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg, who is a pro in the making. He's that good. He's going to be a pro. Eichenberg is the deal. If anybody you need to block, if anybody you need to get with in the game plan, I'm game planning for that dude. Steel Chambers is efficient, but I'm game planning for Tommy Eichenberg based on the way that they use him with the with the zero blitz. And Zach Harrison was a 5-star guy that kind of regressed a little bit, and he'll show up every once in a while. In a game like this, he may be able to athleticism. Baptiste is good. Cody Simon is good. They're all 5-star recruited dudes. J.R. Colson is a 5-star linebacker. Michael Barrett, you've seen his flex when he had the 2 interceptions that sealed the game a couple games ago. Mike Sanders still is a wide receiver. He's so tough that he reminds me of a Rohan Marley. I don't know if anybody can go back far enough when Miami was winning championships and Rohan Marley was playing that hybrid linebacker position. He reminds me of a Rohan Marley that can line up, play you some nickel backer, and he's tough enough to jump in that B gap or that C gap and put his nose in there and pin a 220-pound running back coming downhill. Mike Sanders still is the truth. He sacks quarterbacks. He blankets receivers. I don't know if there's been a touchdown scored on him this year. At the first time he's ever played nickel at the position, this dude is going pro simply because he's a super athlete. I think that gives us a really, really solid one. And Rodder is a good backup for Barrett. He's a hole plugger. I don't know how good he is. I know he got kind of blanketed in the what was it, the Ohio game. They were able to score through the air with their running backs because Colson had to step out to get taped up, and then of course they picked on the new boo. You know, they named him New Boo, right? New Boo. Oh, that's New Boo. Let's go take advantage of New Boo. Let's see what New Boo can do. Because that's New Boo, you know? He fresh out, you know? Fresh out, not trying to go back. So they took advantage of him in the passing game. Colson is super athletic. Barrett is undersized, but a dog. Sanders still is probably the most athletic, most fight in him as any linebacker on any of these two teams. Rodder is a good backup. Run defense, we're going to give it to Michigan. They're number one in rush defense in the Big Ten, and number one in damn near number one in college football. Pass rush, J.R. Colson can get after it with the pass rush, and so can Tommy Eichenberg. Scheme, they're very, very good as well. I'm gonna give Michigan an A. I love what they did against Rutgers when they were down. They put Barrett in the passing tree, dropping and hooked the curls, and he ate that up for 2 interceptions, one for a 40-yard run back and another one for a touchdown scooping, another touchdown, catch and score interception. You know what I mean? He's dangerous. I think that's the one that might get into a hook the curl, and then your man Stroud might think that the receiver is open, and then your man Barrett comes right up underneath 2-3 and picks that thing off for the Michigan Wolverines. Very slept on in coverage. Might make it to the pros just off of the fact that he can open up them hips and get into the passing lanes. Talent. I'm going to give the Michigan Wolverines, even though they're not thumpers, they're athletic at the positions. So I'm going to give them an A minus, not a solid A, not an A plus. I'm going to give them an A minus. Why? Because if they live up to that talent, they are not going to be a step slow with any unit. And I'm going to give Ohio State's linebacking unit a B. Why? Because teams have run on this unit. And this unit, within the scheme of the front seven, has not showed up. Eichenberg has showed up, but if he's the only one showing up, he's easy to block out of the fray. And this team, you know, the front seven, led by their linebacking core, right? Interchangeable with Sawyer and interchangeable with JTT, right? I should have put them on here too, as mentioned. They underperform, and they let teams stick around. They really do. Indiana, Maryland, Penn State, Iowa. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Michigan's ability to be athletic, Michigan's availability to run around and fly around and not be wholesale blocked, and their ability to get their hands on the ball and cover. J.R. Colson runs sideline to sideline almost like a Ray Lewis. He doesn't hit like a Ray Lewis, but he does get sideline to sideline. Nobody's outrunning Junior Colson. So I'm giving them intangibles. And the overall better group, I'm gonna give it to Michigan's linebackers because of Mike Sanders still. Mike Sanders still does something really, really special and gives the unit from the big house the opportunity to use 2 and 3 safeties deep. They don't have a weakness at the nickel position, which a lot of teams do because they have to play linebackers that can cover at that point, and it gives them a weakness there. Hit me up and give me the smoke if you think I'm being too nerdy about the matchup and the points, but I'm giving the linebacker edge to Michigan. So the D-line gets the linebacker edge, and the O-line gets the D-line and the linebackers get the edge for Michigan. Tell me what you think. Am I right about QBs with Stroud? Am I right about Michigan for the running backs? Am I right about State with the receivers? Am I right about Michigan as the better O-line? Am I right about the D line going to Michigan because of the pass rush and the dominant ability to play the run? And am I right about the linebackers because of their athleticism and their ability to get off blocks and impact the game and their ability to get into the passing structure? That's huge. That's super big. Barrett and Sanders still make that unit special in pass coverage. And I think Michigan has something up their sleeve where they might even run a cover six. They might even roll some coverages over to Stover, which is the tight ends. We're not going to feature tight ends today because Ohio State really doesn't use their tight ends much. And Michigan's tight ends are hurt. Even though Michigan's tight ends can play a pivotal role in the game, we're not going to feature them. We're going to talk about those areas that matter, like the DBs. Denzel Burke, Jair Brown, Ronnie Hickman, Kai Stokes, Lathan Ransom, Josh Proctor, Cameron Brown, Jordan Hancock, Tanner McAllister, and Cameron Martinez. They're all 5-star dudes, right? They're all talented dudes. But the only two, but their secondary is a shell of itself. They are throwing so many people at the safety position and at the corner position that they have a 50% secondary right now. So if there's any secondary to anything in my game plan that I'm looking to pick on, I'm going to try to find ways to run play action, to bring those safeties up, and I'm trying to find a way to throw over these corners. The ones to look out for in the game, Cameron Brown, Lathan Ransom, those are the two ballers, one at safety, one at corner. Other ballers, Michigan Wolverines. You got Will Johnson, who got his start against Rutgers, got a pick late in the game. Jamon Green, super solid. You got Harris, Rod Moore at the safety position, Makari Page, super athletic. Rod Moore, which is very heady kid at the safety position. You have RJ Moten, which is the hitter and the intangible dude. He'll get the picks off the tips. You got DJ Turner, 5-star burner. You got him leading the Michigan Wolverines in interceptions. And Mike Sanders still playing the nickelback at Michigan. So, run defense, because of Mike Sanders still, and DJ Turner, and Jamon Green, they come up and they stick as a secondary. You know what I mean? Rod Moore and RJ Moten, they come up and stick. The fumble that was had in the Ohio State game that turned the tide was made by Makari Page, number 7. So run defense, I'm going to give Michigan an A for that. Because if you can get run defense out of your nickelbacker, who's usually an extra corner, man, you in business. Run defense for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they're hiding this unit. This is another unit that Ohio State would rather hide. They would rather not let you know that it's 50-50, just like the starters are 50-50. They don't come up and play to run well. And if Blake Corum can go and Donovan Edwards can go, and those lanes crack, those lanes start opening up, I don't think that you're going to see I don't think that you're going to see these safeties in these corners step up. Matter of fact, I think they're going to be on roller skates with the play action. That's just my opinion. I'm giving my take too early. But the pass rush, you have Mike Sanders still that comes off corners, that comes off the nickel corner and blitzes. And you have Will Johnson is big enough to do it. They haven't done it yet with him, but he's 6'3", so he can come off the corners and do it. Makari Page is a sticker, and so is RJ Moten, Rod Moore as well. Lathan Ransom could hit, and Cameron Brown is solid at the position. The rest of them, you don't know what you're gonna get. Ronnie Hickman can play when he wants to, and who else? Denzel Burke can play when he wants to. Can they play at the pace that this game is going to demand? I'm not sure. If you get Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum coming downhill, can these dudes deal with what Michigan has done all year long? I don't think so. So I'm going to give them a B in run defense. Pass rush, I'm going to give Michigan a B, and I'm going to give Ohio State a B. Scheme, I think Mike Minter, I think you're going to give both teams best shot scheme-wise. I think the veteran defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes is going to have packages put together. But if we can get that run game going, I think he's going to have to go away from that so that he doesn't allow J.J. McCarthy to take off the roof of the shoe with the passing game. So that will have them limited. And I believe scheme-wise, I believe Michigan, between the 4 efficient DBs that they have in Mike Sanders still, Makari Page, Rod Moore, and RJ Moten, playing that intermediate safety type of in the middle of the field rovers, you're going to see a lot of activity out of that group. And as a matter of fact, the pick that came against, I believe it wasn't Illinois, Rutgers. The pick that came against Rutgers to seal the game was Rod Moore. He scraped right off of that, came downhill, and it was off to the races. And that's why that's why we steamrolled him in the second half. Because I believe Mike Minter and his ability to capsulate and double team, give the whole look to the receivers of Ohio State will pay dividends. Because I don't think they're going to be used to seeing what Michigan provides in. It's a special unit. DJ Turner can stay with anybody step for step. Jamon Green has been surprisingly solid. I hope he's not still hurt from the Michigan State tunnel fight. And I hope he's ready to go. And Will Johnson, faux pas. Will Johnson, 6'3", I heard he's going to have the assignment of sticking Marvin Harrison Jr. man-to-man all game. That's going to be his shadow. Me and my shadow, all alone and feeling blue. Yeah, man. So I think that's how it goes down for the DBs. Edge, I'm giving the edge. I'm giving the overall intangible and the overall talent and overall productive edge to the Michigan Wolverine unit. If you look at the stats on the Ohio State DBs, they're not doing well. Teams have come back throwing the ball. Tulia in Maryland had a field day on his secondary. The Indiana quarterback had a field day on his secondary. They made the quarterback of Penn State, who's very pedestrian, have a field day on the Ohio State secondary. I think it's the weakest unit of the team. Bring the smoke, man. Let me know. I got D-line, linebackers, and DBs all go to Michigan. Michigan has, statistically the better defense. Better defense against the run. Better defense overall. Hasn't given up that many deep balls that go for touchdowns this year. One against Ohio State. Michigan State. That's all I can remember. These dudes are keeping teams in the ball game with their anti-production out of this Ohio State secondary. Do not believe in these jokers. If there's one unit I'm going to attack in this game, even with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, I'm going to get them dudes in the passing fray, and I'm going to make this a track race and make Ohio State's DBs beat me. I don't think they can. And if you make it a track race, I think that neutralizes JTT, and I also think it neutralizes Sam Jack Sawyer at the jack position, which is kind of like Ohio State's nickel position. Yeah, man. So we're at that pivotal moment, man. We're an hour and 56 minutes in. Come get your skin in. Um, we recapped a lot. We featured a lot. Um, so we're almost up to my take. My take. But let's look at common opponents real quick. Common opponents for Michigan and Ohio State. Stack up. Because they're both so like we showed earlier, Ohio State is at number 2 and Michigan is at number 3 nationally based on the playoff committee. Is that right? Should they be there? If you got the smoke and you got something different to say and want to celebrate it, get in here. Get your ass in here and let me know what you think. Time. Let me know what you think. Talk your ish. Here we go. I think the two should be switched because I think Ohio State has shown a propensity to keep teams in games, whereas Michigan puts teams away. And how do I know that? Let's look at the performance of each school through common opponents. So they all share common opponents, and some of the common opponents are ranked. Penn State, well, let's show the ranked teams real quick. Let's show ranked teams throughout college football as it stands right now. So let's look at the top 20 that are ranked. I was going to do the whole top 25, but that's not necessary. And I'm trying to wrap this up so I can give my take and we can move on because I want everybody to stand strong, live long, rocking out with us on the Big House Breakdown, your source for college football sports with an eye on the Michigan Wolverines. All right, so let's check it out. We have Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Michigan at 3, TCU at 4, uh, Southern Carolina at 5. They made a huge jump. USC, LSU at 6, Clemson at 7. You could debate USC and Clemson in that particular thing. Alabama at 8. How the mighty have fallen. Tennessee at 9. Paper Tiger. Oregon 10. Penn State at 11. Washington, Notre Dame, Utah, Kansas State, and I think there's room for Maryland in that assessment. Florida State, UCLA, North Carolina, Tulane, Ole Miss, Cincinnati, and Oregon State. I think if we went a little bit further, you'll see that Maryland comes in at within your top 25. If I'm wrong, leave me to smoke. But here we go based on common opponents. Penn State. Michigan put the smash on Penn State. They strangled them with their running game. Wasn't even a man. Listen, they smashed on Penn State, man. Over 400 yards rushing, 200 yards passing, bully ball. On Penn State, they needed a whole fourth quarter to get their act together and pull away from Penn State. Versus Maryland, we put the smash on Maryland late, but Ohio State was getting bullied by Maryland. Maryland was pulling a rabbit out of a hat against Ohio State. So, and I believe it was because Ohio State had some unconventional ways of running the ball, and based on that, it didn't maximize their ability to be impactful in the game. So they were fair against Maryland. Iowa, Michigan put the smash on Iowa all game. Check the stats. And Ohio State struggled, but put the smash on late versus Iowa. Struggled for 3 quarters, and then put the smash on 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter versus Iowa. Michigan State, we put the second hand smash on Michigan State, and Ohio State put the smash on air raid style versus Michigan State. Indiana, we put the second hand smash on Indiana, and Ohio State put the late fourth quarter smash on Indiana. Let Indiana hang around. Again, you're starting to see a pattern. Fair, smash late, smash late. Michigan put the second half smash and the boa constrictor on Rutgers, and Ohio State put the air raid smash on Ohio State. I think they also had some running scores in that game. So Michigan put the smash on or had the second half smash on most of the teams they played. Ohio State had 4 games in common opponent that they let teams hang around, and hang around, and let they nuts hang on Ohio State. You know? Can't do that if you're a number 2 team. How you a number 2 team and you let 4 common opponents, for a number 2 team in your own division put their nuts on you for 3 quarters? How you do that? How you do that and live with it? Mentality thing is for real, man. That's why at the beginning of the game, my thought was Ohio State origami? Are they paper air raid? Are they not physical? Are they a bunch of prima donnas that like to throw the ball, that like to lollipop and rainbow that ball all over the field, and they expect to score within their system and within their outstanding wide receivers and quarterback versus getting really down dirty and gritty and giving it up the way they need to and scoring the way they need to. Hey, man, yo, we are the It's time for another intro drop. Yeah, man, we back. We talking about common opponents. This is the throne of Big Ten football. This is the most wins of all time in college football. We are talking about the Big House breakdown. Big House is a nickname for Michigan Stadium, most wins in college football history. I'm your host. If you're joining us late, if you're joining us on the late show, you rocking with the best. This the Big House breakdown. This the Real HD Broadcast Network's attempt at a sports show, and we will continue to give you more sport breakdown shows based on some of my favorite teams and including sports analysis while doing so for the overall sports area. So we looked at the top 25 teams. We looked at rivalry week in all its glory, all of the top rivalry games that are coming up and all that you can get yourself involved in based on your region and where you live in. We looked at whether you do the top 12 teams. If the playoff field of 12 started today, this is what it would look like based on the Voice of College Football crew. I thought it was saying, where would you put these teams if you had to put a field of 12 out there? And they believe that the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl coming out of the West, Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl from the East, Peach Bowl from the West, and that is the way you would kind of scheme that and get that done. Let us know how you feel about it. And this is Michigan and Ohio State through 12, 6 common opponents on their schedule. And as you can see, Michigan has dominated second halves and put the smash on more teams than Ohio State does. And now it's time for my take. But we're going to keep this here as it is until I can load up my take, because my take is very important. I have some things to say. Oh, before we do my take, let's do impact. Okay? Let's do impact. So impact players, impact people, and impact portions of the big game. Let's do it. On Michigan side, you got Blake Corum. You got not Zach Minter. You got number 77, who plays guard for the Michigan Wolverines, Mauler. He was hurt. If we get him back this week, we mauling Ohio State tackles. CJ Johnson, JJ McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, and we got I should have put Roman Wilson in there because he is a speed demon. And then you got number 8 receiver for the Michigan Wolverines. And then for the Ohio State offense, you got Mayan Williams, Trey Henderson, Emeka Smith and Jigba, Abuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., and they make up the offensive load, and including Stover. Stover's out every once in a while, and he'll catch a pass. I think against Michigan's front, though, you're going to see Stover in more times than not because they're going to need that max protection. And their running backs may be just too light to get that done. Now, defense, this is where the bread will be buttered right here. This is where the boys come to play. This is where the chest thumping is going to happen. You got JTT, you got Jack Sawyer, and you got Tommy Eichenberg. They will make up the bulk of the plays that are made by the front 7 of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then you have Lathan Ransom and Cameron Brown. I think those two dudes are ballers. I think it's just going to be too much. You can scheme them out of effectiveness in the passing game. The different categories, we got consistency, turnovers, and injuries, weather, intangibles, and coaching. Let's get to it. Consistency. The air raid. The air raid is very consistent, and it's their bread and butter. If weather is a factor, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and the shoe is supposed to be brisky, icy, raining, cold. We'll see if those receivers can stay on points like the ones did last year. I don't think they can because of the way that they play teams down the line. Recently, rather. And Michigan is consistent in their ground and pound. The offensive line forms Voltron, and they chew up those football fields. They strangle you with the clock. They dominate the clock. They strangle you with the clock. And I think that will be the recipe that Michigan uses to be the dominant offense. And I do think Blake Corum is going to play. Listen, man, this is the game. And Blake Corum is having an NFL first-year draft pick type of season. It's important for him to show not only himself, not only his team and his community and his school and the NFL scouts that he can come back from injury and be effective. And since there was no structural damage, as it was reported, I'm sure, and he's walking around and delivering turkeys and being festive during this time of year and giving a lot, you know what I mean? Maybe the energies and the frequencies will be with that brother, and he will make an appearance, and he will be 80%. I'm taking 80% Blake Corum versus any 80% coming from Trey Williams and Mayan Williams. So consistency is they both do what they do well. Let's see who wins the irresistible force, unmovable object. Turnovers. They're both really good at turnovers for defenses. I believe the pressure that comes from Jack Sawyer and JTT creates turnovers for Eichenberg, Sam Sawyer in the secondary at the jack position. I think they take advantage of it because of the pressure that's put on by Sawyer and JTT. Turnovers for Michigan. Their DBs are very heady that way. Turner, CJ Turner leads Michigan Wolverines in turnovers. They're a very heady unit. They're very schemed very well. They haven't gotten a lot of fumbles over the course of the season, but boy, have they gotten some sacks and some interceptions. Mike Sanders still is sneaky picking you off at the nickel position. Don't run a crossing route or underneath route with CJ Turner. He's gonna get inside that receiver and break it off if not. And then of course you got pressure coming from that defensive line in Mozzie Smith, Graham, and Iabioki. I just think turnovers, they're both very prolific with turnovers, and we know turnovers make the day. It's 9 o'clock. I'm glad you guys stuck around to hear the impact of the game and the big house breakdown. I know it's a little long-winded, but let's go into injuries, man. Injuries are very, very interesting, man, because this can very well turn into the hospital bowl because of all the injuries on both sides of the football. This can turn into the bowl, not the game, not a pre-playoff bowl, but the hospital bowl. Because so many people, so many impact people on both sides of the football for the game are hurt and are trying to get healthy as they can to make an appearance, to get it done and make the impact that these players can make for their squads. Intangibles. If Ohio State, I gave Ohio State a B for intangibles, because if Ohio State as a squad had intangibles on their side, I think they would have buried a lot of those teams down. I think they would have. So injuries, they're both a C. It's going to be the battle of who can get health faster. So health is wealth in this matchup. And Michigan knows what they want to do in sloppy weather. And the Northwestern game and the Indiana game showed that Ohio State can get ballerina-like in cold, brittle weather. But you got to play football. You got to button it up, buttercup, and play football. Intangibles. I think the intangible side of things can go to Michigan. So I gave Ohio State a B. I just haven't, they're solid on intangibles, meaning special teams and different ways that they can affect the game. They're solid. They're 5 stars. So anybody can have a performance on their end of things. Just haven't seen it throughout the season from them. They're very much relying on their horses to get things done. They're eagles, they're air raid, and they're talented 5-star defenders, right? But if Michigan can do some things in the kicking game, in special teams, with AJ Henning, maybe they can do like some sort of like kick or punt reverse or punt reverse throwback or kickoff throwback or kickoff reverse. I'm telling you, in a game that's going to be weather centric, in a game that's going to feature intangibles, I think Michigan, if there's going to be a team that comes up with intangibles, I think it's going to be Michigan. I think it's going to be Michigan. Why? Because they have a lot of players that are already specialized in multiple areas to make those intangibles a reality. Sanders Still, Donovan Edwards, number 8 for Michigan, Iabiyoki, you know, CJ Johnson, and then you might get a super duper hero performance from Andrew Anthony. He's not even up there, but he's due because he's super talented and he hasn't gone off this year. His rocket hasn't launched this year, but every game he looks super close. And I know Michigan has some things on their side that they're trying to do for this game, and I believe in coaching. Let's go right to coaching since we're thinking about it. We have Ryan Day versus Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh's experience at both levels gives him a unique perspective to a game like this. The gamesmanship, the strategy, the prepared, how well he can prepare a team. If you had to help prepare grown men to play Super Bowls and playoff games with Colin Kaepernick, and you had to bench a Pro Bowl Pro Bowl quarterback to create another Pro Bowl quarterback, and damn near win a Super Bowl if it wasn't for the lights going out in the Harbaugh Bowl, I think that you're a pretty vaunted team. And I'm sure Mike Minter has shown a propensity to be the best second half defensive coach in the country. Teams have gotten minus 30 yards in most second halves from the Michigan Wolverines as a defense. That's why they're probably number one in total defense, because teams have minus 30 yards on Michigan Wolverines in the second half. So that means we will hold Ohio State in the second half of this ball game to less yards than they start out with. So if Ohio State doesn't come out with their sexy automobile and drive it up the field right away, and they get into a dogfight with us on the ground, my guys, I give the coaching impact to Michigan. The only reason why they get an A minus is because the passing game hasn't shown up yet, and it hasn't shown up consistently. And I gave a B plus to Ryan Day and his coaching staff because they're good. Ryan Day is good. The defensive coordinator is veteran and well respected and knows what he's doing. But they leave and they let teams stick around. Man, you're not going to change your identity just because you're playing in your team. Because that hype though goes out the window after the first quarter of cracking. And then it comes down to who's got the better team. Who's got the better game plan? Who's got the better team that can execute under pressure? Who can strangle you with that clock? And who will eat up the game in the third and fourth quarter and not let you come back on them? So now it's time to give my take. So those are impact players. Impact players on offense, impact players on defense. I think Michigan has more impact players on both sides of the ball. I think that makes for an interesting matchup. I just hope it doesn't turn into the hospital bowl and, in fact, becomes the impact bowl during the game that we all want to see. So now we're going to go into my take. So we've learned all of I think you guys know where I'm leaning, of course, because this is Big House Breakdown. Very obvious. So we're getting to the point of the show where I want to get out of here. I want to give my take, and then I want to go eat some dinner. Here we go. My take. So the reason why I did the Big House Breakdown is because I like a lot of the Michigan shows and podcasts that exist on social media, YouTube, etc. But there's a lot of things that they take into for granted, or they don't just give key insights on. Here's one of the key insights. Michigan is 22-0 in the regular season and Big Ten champions defending their Big Ten championship crown well. That bodes well for what they're going to do in a game like this. That bodes well for their composure as a group. It bodes well for their pride as a team. It bodes well for their perseverance. It bodes well for the entire team being on the same page. And I just think they were disrespected and underappreciated all season long. They treated them like football stepchild, the BIs, all season long. And they had to earn every step they got up the ladder of being top 4 in the country, right? Another one is road games and defenses travel. I'm going to say that again. That's an old adage, old wisdom. Road games and defenses travel. Michigan is the number 1 overall defense in a lot of statistical categories. That will travel. We're getting Big Mike Morris back this week. That will travel. We got Iabioki and these exotic schemes that Mike Minter is going to draw up to get him and Harrell and Moore and Mike Morris and Graham and all the pass rush specialists that we have that have gotten us the most sacks in the Big Ten throughout the season. That's going to open up the lanes for those dudes to raise hell and get CJ Stroud off his game. So running game and pass travels. Respect us as Big Ten champs. The ground game. We are the antithesis of what exists in football right now. What is football right now? Spread offense. Everybody wants to spread offense. They want to run the RPO or the read option. Off spread offenses, they want to take advantage of 50 yards of field. What does Michigan say? We can do that too, but we could do it from bunch formation. And while we're doing that, we'll strangle you like a constrictor, or will Tasmanian devil road grade you up and down the bucking foot, bash you like Fred Krueger to the jaw, buck 50 to the jaw, right? With our run game. Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, Heisman hopeful. Number one defense, leader for the Heisman. I believe if Blake Corum has a better statistical performance than CJ Stroud, not only do we win, Blake Corum wins the Heisman. That's my take. CJ Stroud, like last year, showed a propensity to shrink a little bit when you get his butt on the ground. When you get him on the ground, he gets the Tom Brady-itis. Remember the Giants was putting that thing on Tom Brady? Whether they was sacking him or straight just putting the wood to the chin, they put him on the grizzle. You put Stroud on the ground, he's not used to that all season long. Ohio State hasn't seen a pass rush like Michigan's all season long. That matters. That matters. Our offensive line won't have to stop as many. Michigan's offensive line won't have to stop as many playmakers as Ohio State's offensive line is going to have to stop from our defense, from Michigan defense. Edge Michigan. There was another really big take I wanted to play action pass. If that play action pass hits for Michigan, and JJ McCarthy is able to put that right touch on it and find Andrew Anthony or Roman Wilson deep or Johnson deep, those are our burners. This game, this gonna be, it might be a 42 game to about maybe 27. Will Ohio State score some points? Yeah, but I may score some points because of field position, maybe a turnover or two. And I think it may be a mirror game to last year. We shown a lot of people, especially in the Big Ten, how to beat Old State. So let me read down. Scheme strength into injury areas. Matt Jones, the starting guard for Ohio State, is out of the game. If Mike Minter stunts and games into those injury areas to take advantage of an Ohio State team that is reeling, and we could find that weak sister, that twisted sister, that sweet sister, as we used to say in our defensive meeting rooms. Who's the sweet sister? Who's the sweetie on that offensive line? We coming right at them. Dr. Blitz, what's up? What's up, Coach Jiggs? Talking to you if you listening. What's up, Coach Matt? Talking to you if you listening. But scheme our strengths into their injury areas. That's a win for Michigan. Is Ohio State special at their pass rush? They are. Can they do it well? Yes, they can. Eichenberg, Sawyer, and JTT will make plays. They certainly will. But when we bring them three tight ends out and Zach Zinter is able to play, and Olu Timmy and Trent Jones and them dudes, man, you talking about road grading, you talking about blasting off the ball with all that adrenaline for this game. All right, let's go to the next one. Physicality and weather rules. Yeah, man. So the more physical team wins. Weather rules, the better team in the weather wins. So if they don't want to be known as prima donnas, they better bring their lunch to this game. They better bring their lunch pail. They better learn how to button up their chin strap like everybody else and take it on the chin. Because if these receivers start getting banged around like Sanders still did to the receiver in the the Ohio game, the Rutgers game, and the Nebraska game, oh boy, we got some dogs at safety in that secondary. Better run game wins, absolutely. The better run game is going to be the victor. Unsung hero is clutch. Yeah, there's gonna be an unsung hero. Why? Because there's too many injuries on both sides. We don't want to just turn into the hospital bowl. But we're gonna have to ask these 5-star dudes to step up if you're a backup. So there's gonna be an unsung hero or somebody that we don't think will emerge and help their team win. So it may be the Dylan cat for Ohio State at running back position, or it may be Andrew Anthony for Michigan at the receiver position, off play action. Um, Team with 100 yards or less in penalties wins. So the team that has 100 yards or more in penalties loses, and the team that stays well below 100 yards in penalties wins. And coaching experience matters, and I just think that Michigan's coaches have more experience. I think Harbaugh has really strategized for this game, so he's going to give it his all. And I also think that um, Mike Minter has learned a lot from the defensive coordinator from last year. That playbook is full to the brim with exotic blitzes and exotic things that have really shook some teams this year and made them think 2 and 3 and 4 times about what they're doing on their side of the ball, made their offensive linemen think 2 and 3 times. Our run fits are good. Our blitz run fits are good. And, you know, this is the game. If there's any time for you to step up, man up, and be up and make plays and earn that scholarship, it's during the game. And if there's a team that's built to handle what this game mandates and requires, it's the Michigan Wolverines. So let me get to my overall and my eventual winner of the game. And I think you can tell where I'm leaning. But I need to post it for you guys so we could be very, very thorough and very, very end this off with a bang. All right, here we go. So we waiting for that to load up, family. Once that loads up, we're loaded up. And overall, I think they do what they do well, man. I think each team is an A minus. I think they're elite at what they do, which is why they're top 4 in the country. Ohio State is crappy running the ball. Michigan is not crappy throwing the football, but they need a lot of work. Defense, defense, I give them a B overall on all units, only because they let teams stick around. And I give Michigan a minus, only because we have some injuries on that side of the ball. But if we can get big Mikey Morris back, we ain't gonna be nobody to play with. Special teams with Money Moody at the kicking game, and AJ Henning at the return game. Man, that's gonna be special. So I think the field position game favors Michigan, so Michigan gets an A minus. If we can get AJ Henning healthy and get him out there, and we get a return out of him, I think that makes for big things. Styles make fights. They're both good at what they do. I think this time of year favors Michigan. Overall, I think Michigan will win the game. I think we will know. I think this game will be very, very telling by who is able to execute in the first quarter. By the end of the first quarter, the team that has that momentum will probably win the game. And the game within the game is, of course, Ohio State's offense versus Michigan's defense. And if Michigan's offense can establish the run and J.J. McCarthy can insert himself into the running game, doing RPO, I think we're going to be a hard team to beat. I think we play well at all levels of the game. I think Ohio State lets teams hang around. And I think that is going to be the difference in a Michigan victory in the game. And then Michigan will jump right up to number 2 unless Georgia takes a L to Georgia Tech in the trap game. So this has been the edition of The Game, the highlight game of Rivalry Week 2022 over the Thanksgiving holiday season. Buckle up. It's going to be an explosive one. It's going to tell a lot about these two teams, this conference, the college football season, and it will set the tone and the ladder for what happens in championship week and during the playoffs. So I'm your man. Let's hit that intro one more time. Yeah, man. So that was the intro. I love it. I love it. You are rocking with the Big House Breakdown. Let me take this off the screen really quickly. Bear with me, fam. There we go. So this is the Big House Breakdown with your Michigan man, the victorious 7. Hail to the victors, valiant leaders, and the best. Right. I was gonna play but I don't want to hear that Saturday. So we don't want to preempt that. We want to save that for Saturday. Hear that? It's on Saturday. If we could do that, I'll be a happy man. I hope I gave you guys some crucial takes on the big game during rivalry week. The big game for all the marbles, the pre-playoff game, that is Michigan versus Ohio State. If you have smoke for this, if you think I'm wrong or you think I'm right, put it in the chat. Let a brother know where you stand. Let a brother know what's popping. This is the Big House Breakdown, a show like no other. Something new on the Real HD Broadcast Network. Tap in and let me know what breakdowns in sports that you want to see. I'll put them up. If you want a basketball breakdown, I'll do it. You want a NFL breakdown, I'll do it. You want a hockey, boxing, MMA, let me know. Let your man know. But for right now, let's rock out one more game with that terrific opening. Here we go. Yeah, that was it, man. And I'm signing off. We've been on here long enough talking our ish. Leave it in the chat. Leave it in the timestamp it. Let me know what you think. Get ready. Buckle up for what they used to call a slobber knocker with them big bubbas on Saturday. It's the game. Michigan, Ohio State. It's your man, the Vic 7, the victorious one, letting you know. Hey, man, if you're in a rock and you are around town and you can show up Friday and you can show up on Saturday, we're having a Black Empowerment Marketplace popping off. You will see the advertisements from me over the next couple of days for the Black Empowerment Marketplace. Come through, spend your money on Black Friday, spend your money on, let's make it a Black Saturday as well. Spend your money black. Help our dollars circulate in the hood, in the communities. We need to get that done. We're going to have on other shows, we're going to have some representatives from CJI come on here. I'm down with them as well, but we're going to have a couple come on here, explain the Black Empowerment Marketplace, everything that it's going to be about. And I may even do a live from the Black Empowerment Marketplace for the Real HD show. Stay tuned for that. Support. You can find that on the CJI page on Facebook. And if you hit them up in the chat, I'm sure that we could alert the vendors of your interests, and I'm sure we can get you guys all the drip and all the fits and all the custom merchandise that is going on at the Black Empowerment Marketplace. Look out for that. I'm coming to host. Your man is coming to host this weekend. We're going to do it big at the Black Empowerment Marketplace. Look forward to seeing you there, spending with your folks, fortifying your folks for the new year and beyond. But once again, this is the Big House Breakdown. This is your host, the Victorious Seven. I'm looking forward to doing many, many more as Michigan steps into the second quarter of the college football season and becomes dominant in the world of college football. I thought this was dope. All eyes will be on this game for the weekend, and you heard it here first, giving it to you like no other. And as usually, we say peace and walk with power. Leave it to us in the chat, man. Let us know where you at. Let's get y'all in here. Let's get y'all throwing these jabs around at the Big House. Breakdown. Peace, y'all.